The sound of my 7-year-old son screaming for his service dog still echoes in my mind like a siren that cuts right through you, no matter how many times you replay it. You know, there was Bentley, our golden retriever chained to a fence post, floodwater rising fast while the wind from a Category 2 hurricane howled around him, and all because Scarlett, our HOA president, decided to teach a lesson about so-called fake service animals. I swear I still have trouble sleeping when I think about that night, about my boy Jackson, autistic, gentle, brilliant, in a way most people never understand, pressing his face to the window, unable to help his best friend. Let me back up a sec, because if you're picturing some peaceful, privileged suburb, you'd be half right. 6 months ago, we moved into Willowbrook Estates thinking, quiet streets, manicured lawns, security gates. Maybe Jackson could finally breathe a little easier. The brochure said family-friendly. They forgot to mention Scarlett Whitmore, who ran the HOA like a dictator in heels, patrolling in her spotless white SUV and issuing fines for grass that grew half an inch too high. People here were scared of her, and I learned why the hard way. For Jackson, routine is everything, counting fence posts on our morning walks. Bentley always at his side, keeping him grounded when the world gets too loud. That dog is more than a pet. He's medical equipment, best friend, emotional anchor, all rolled into 65 pounds of golden fluff. Without Bentley, Jackson doesn't sleep, doesn't cope, barely gets through a grocery trip. If you've never seen a meltdown, you might not understand the desperation of a parent whose only lifeline is a four-legged therapist. And then came Hurricane Delilah tracking up the coast, every news channel talking doom. I was outside that Tuesday morning feeling the pressure drop, Jackson counting out loud, Bentley watching like a sentinel, when Scarlett's SUV glided up. She climbed out, blazer crisp clipboard in hand, blonde hair that never seemed to move. "Mr. Harrison, we need to discuss your animal situation," she said, like she was talking about a broken mailbox, not the living thing holding my kid's sanity together. I tried to stay calm. Jackson listens for cues always. But Scarlett started listing complaints: Bentley barking, Bentley pooping in the wrong place, Bentley using up community resources in emergencies. None of it was true. I told her Bentley's a certified service dog. We've got all the paperwork. She sneered. Anyone can print that stuff from the internet. We need proof from your doctor, the training facility, the disability office. 48 hours or he's in violation. She even waved the HOA bylaw at me, all highlighted, like that would make it less absurd. My son's medical privacy, my family's peace, all just pawns in her weird little game. I spent the rest of that day frantically calling doctors, trainers, old therapists. They promised documentation, but with the hurricane coming, every hour felt like borrowed time. The sky got darker, the air heavier. By noon, the news was saying landfall in 18 hours, evacuations recommended, not required. Jackson picked up on the tension. Bentley says, "We need to be careful, Daddy." That dog was his barometer, his shield against the chaos. Late afternoon, Scarlett was back, this time with a frazzled-looking guy from animal control. "Ma'am says you can't verify your animal," he mumbled, looking embarrassed. I produced a folder thick with certifications, registration, training records. He checked every page, then handed it back. "Looks good to me." Scarlett's face. "God, if looks could kill," she muttered. "We'll see about that," and stormed off, leaving Jackson rocking on his bedroom floor, whispering, bad lady," over and over. The rest of the night, I sat up watching the wind rattle the shutters, waiting for the next move. And I was right to worry. Early next morning, the storm now less than 12 hours out, Scarlett just parked across the street and stared at our house for an hour. Psychological warfare, pure and simple. Jackson spiraled. Bentley worried. He kept saying hands flapping speech, getting more and more clipped. I was running on nerves, trying to keep my own panic in check. Now here's the twist. Most folks never saw coming. While the neighbors thought I was just some consultant, my real job was federal emergency management. I had spent the last decade coordinating disaster response ops, and as Delilah churned toward us, I was managing teams across 3 states, literally giving the order for rescue helicopters while trying to hold my own family together. The irony, I was fighting a hurricane on 2 fronts, one inside my house, one outside. As the wind howled and the first squalls hit, Scarlet made her final play. She marched up our driveway in a yellow raincoat, lugging a chain and padlock. "If that animal's so important, let's see how he handles a real emergency," she sneered. And before I could stop her, she barged inside, snapped Bentley's leash, and dragged him out into the storm. Jackson lost it, pounding on the window, screaming, "Bentley scared, Bentley scared." That sound will stay with me forever. I was frozen for a split second, run after the dog or stay with my son, who was dissolving in terror. But I saw Scarlet outside, chaining Bentley to the fence at the edge of the flood ditch, the water already halfway up his legs. She stood there, hands on hips, watching as if she was proud of her handiwork. The moment felt surreal. Like, is this really happening? Is this real life? Then my radio crackled, "Federal team requesting authorization for water rescues helicopters inbound." That's when I realized, maybe for the first time, that all my roles, father, disaster director, were about to collide. I gave the coordinates not to the high school, but to Willowbrook Estates. Within minutes, the thump of rotors shook the house spotlights, cutting through the rain. Jackson, sobbing, asked if the helicopter people could help Bentley, and I told him, "They're coming, buddy, just hold on." When the first chopper hovered over our yard, rescue swimmer, rappelling down, Scarlet finally understood these weren't routine patrols. These were my teams, and she'd crossed a line no HOA president ever should. The swimmer cut Bentley loose, winched him up to safety, all while Scarlet screamed, "Who authorized this?" I walked out holding my federal badge. "I did," I said. "You're under arrest for animal cruelty, child endangerment, interfering with federal disaster response." You know that look when someone's whole world shifts? That's what happened to Scarlet right there. Realization, then fear. Jackson got Bentley back, and in a heartbeat, the meltdown faded. The rescue crew treated my son like a VIP, talking him down, calling Bentley the bravest dog in the storm. And Scarlet, she went from queen bee to federal custody so fast the neighbors were left speechless. In the weeks after the story exploded, news trucks, policy changes, new HOA leadership, Willowbrook Estates went from a place of exclusion to a model for inclusion. Service animals, protected families with special needs welcomed. Jackson testified via video, no crowds, thank you very much, in a case that went all the way to Congress. "Bentley helps my brain work right," he explained, "and nobody has the right to take your helper away." That testimony, honest and unfiltered, led to what they now call Jackson's Law, federal protections against HOA overreach during emergencies. Scarlet served time, then had to do community service with disabled kids. I didn't think anything could change her, but surprise twist, helping those kids seemed to unlock something real in her. She apologized to us, donated to the local autism center, and eventually joined the board of the nonprofit. Jackson started Bentley's Brigade, teaching emergency preparedness for families with service animals. Yeah, that happened. Years later, Jackson, once terrified of crowds, is now speaking at conferences, showing off Bentley's training, telling anyone who will listen, service dogs aren't just pets, they're lifelines. Bentley, a little grayer around the muzzle, but still sharp, wears his vest like a badge of honor. Willowbrook Estates is a different place now, a place that people seek out for the very reason we almost left. Funny how a storm and the cruelty of one person could end up strengthening a whole community. The scars are still there, but so is the wisdom, and every time a chopper flies over, every time a neighbor waves, I remember how close we came to losing everything. Sometimes the wildest storms bring out the truest strength. Love, determination, and the stubborn, beautiful bond between a boy and his dog. So what do you think? Was justice really served? Did Scarlet's redemption mean anything, or was it just too little too late? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about what community really means and how far we should go to protect the vulnerable among us.